Welcome to the Vodkast. Alright, I'll see you guys on the other side. It's like magic. All of a sudden I'm on the other side. Did you see that? It's like a trick. He was just talking to himself. Oh. Check out this cool trick. Hey guys, how you doing? This 24mm lens doesn't work so well with the GorillaPod. See, this is why if I just had the slightly bigger GorillaPod, it would be perfect. I love this 24mm lens. It's a 2.8 aperture, which we're going to talk about a little bit in this video. However, I got other things I want to talk about first. Like the new office setup. It's not a new office setup. It's not my new digs, as the video may say. I think that's what I'm going to call it. I hope so, because now I've said it. I just want to give you guys a little tour of what I've been doing here in the office, and I didn't want to throw on the 10 to 18 and get it all set up, only a few minutes later come over here and place you on said tripod. Yep. That is the one I normally use when I'm filming anything. So a lot has changed in here. The big change is the desk. I finally got the desk in here and set up. So here is the new desk. It's pretty neat. It's great to have it clean. And like, if you look at this desk, which is just a nightmarish disaster of just stuff. I really want to get rid of a lot of that stuff, and I've been thinking about clearing off the hutch and getting rid of the hutch. But either way, I do have to do that at some point because I do want to try to fix that desk, and then we'll figure something else out from there. It's so much more efficient in here now, though, the way I've got things set up. Can light. Ties. And I think one of the coolest new features, or not new features, is the fact that there's three surfaces, or as Macho Man would do it, 1, 2, 3. There's 3 surfaces. 2 of them are completely usable. Now this one is the one that I sit at all the time and basically do my talks. And so now I've got this office chair here. We've got the new chair there and there. I didn't think that was going to work, having 2 desks on either side of the room with the 2 chairs in the middle. I thought it was going to be too much. And the funny thing, too, is I miscalculated. I thought my old desk was 34 by 60, but it's smaller than that. So the reason why I'm leaving this, I love this 2.4 lens, and I think if it was I just had the longer GorillaPod, it would be very usable. Like, because even when I use the 10 to 18, sometimes the 10 is almost a little too wide, and I don't need it that wide. So now I have 3 surfaces. So that is a great work table. Like, it was awesome yesterday when I needed to switch lenses and stuff. It was just free and open. And also, it freed up a little bit of room because I've got drawers in the new desk. All this stuff here fits up here really well. So this is a handy shelf. The top needs to be more practical rather than decorative, I think. And also, I don't have the microphone on right now. I'll stick the microphone on after I switch over to the next video. That's the new office, it's coming along. I've got some new ideas. It'll get there eventually, but it's getting close now. I'm very happy with the way it's turning out. It's very comfortable. And at night with the those things, the studio lights, they looks really nice in here. It's nice, soft, and comfortable light. Okay, let's go have a seat. There we go. So that's where the office is going. The other thing I want to talk about was cameras a little bit. Aperture and ISO and shutter speed. For about a year before I bought this camera, which was last year, so I've had a little over a year now, I watched every video I could about, first, the couple of cameras I was looking at. till I narrowed it down to 1 or 2. Then I learned as much about the 1 or 2 cameras that I was very interested in until I decided on the Canon 80D. For what I was going to do at the time, and I guess still want to do at this time, the autofocus was critical and key in everything I'd heard, and maybe someone else's autofocus is better, and it's all just a scam from Canon. I'm not paid by Canon or anything, but everything I read about the autofocus and why I needed the autofocus, well, here we go. This is a perfect example when I just sat down on that chair. There we go. There you are. I mean, it wasn't lightning fast because I've got it set to a slower speed, because I think the slow transition kind of looks nice. Also, I shot this at 24 frames a second. Now, this is where things start to get a little interesting. So last night, we had that light going on in the room. I didn't show you. There's a bunch of pictures I took. If you just look for me at Jason, wherever you might normally go to find me, I took some photos in here last night of Stupid Cat and my children and just a few other things. And so I really started playing with the camera and playing with the aperture because I was using the 50mm lens, which is the cheapest way for me to be able to shoot in low light. Now, I never shoot with the 50mm lens because the setup would have to change in here. Basically, I would have to shoot from one corner of the room. Well, yeah, go ahead. So I'd have to shoot from this corner of the room, which is already cluttered and out of control, to basically where I am now. So I was shooting with a 50mm lens, and it looked really good, both at 60 frames a second and at 24 frames a second. I'm going to show a little clip. Here's the 60 frames a second first. What I like about that is just the absolute crispness of it, and I can get a little bit more crispness out of it. I don't like to say that word, crispness. Crispness. It's like Christmas, but harder. The crispness of it is amazing. It's very fluid. Like, as you can see here, this is 24 frames a second. You're getting a little bit of a blur effect. At 60 frames a second, if you go back and watch that, or if you don't want to, I'm sure there's somewhere online you can get a better example. You don't get that. You get a very, crystal clear movement because it's capturing at a higher frame rate. I started messing around with my aperture because I'd never done that before. In my mind, the only thing that I'd learned about aperture through learning about these cameras was that the lower the number, the darker you can still get without cranking out your ISO or whatever. So the ISO at a higher ISO, so you want to always try to, I think, capture, and I could be wrong about this, I don't know everything about photography. I'm learning as I go. But I thought I'd hand you the tips that I have learned over the last 2 years since deciding to acquire and acquiring this camera. I'd always thought that you wanted to shoot as low as possible with your aperture because just generally speaking, it makes for a nice photo. So if you're shooting me, where I am now, this is a 2.8. If I was further from my background, you'd get more of a blurred out effect. But with a 1.8, which I have on the 50mm, well, let me show you the second clip. This is 24 frames a second. What do you think looks better, Beastie? The first one or the second one? They both had some pretty interesting qualities about them. This is definitely more cinematic, if you're into that whole cinematic sort of thing. Sweetie! Sweetie!
What?
Come here! Like I said, it's it's a lot more cinematic. I don't know how else to say it. It's the term that a lot of photographers, most photographers that I talk to or see on YouTube, whatever platform this is. Where am I? Who are you people? What am I doing here? Now I'm completely off track. When I was reading about aperture or watching videos about aperture, the only thing I was concerned with was getting that effect and making that effect. And that effect looks fantastic. However, there's a flip side to that. I mean, cranking up your aperture or down, I don't know what the actual, if it's stepping up or stepping down. I've always been confused by that, and I'll probably have to watch a video after this. It gets darker. Now, what is it doing exactly? It's closing the lens. so that it's, at the higher, it's open. So it's great. So if it's super dark out, it's getting any light that's coming into that lens is going right into the lens. You have no problem. I started shooting the other night, just messing around with my 3 settings. And it's something that I highly recommend, because as many videos as I watched, and as much as I did learn, I learned so much more on my own in the last 2 or 3 days just playing with those settings. And you can't be afraid to mess it up, because you'll eventually figure it out. You'll dial it back to where you need to go. At first, it's really scary. I remember when I first started messing with those settings, I'm like, not this time, but when I was younger. I've had cameras growing up. When I graduated high school, I got a Pentax. I can't remember what it was. It was 35 millimeter though. And I never really, I was able to capture photos and they looked pretty good. But now that I know those settings, if I could go back then and do then what I know now, I think my path would have veered off in a different course. Anywho, mess with your settings. Don't let anybody be like, this is how you should do it. There's a video out there, and the guy's fantastic photographer, videographer. Everything I've ever watched of his looks really good. He's a little stale, a little dry, but, that comes and goes, I mean, you really can't be this awesome. Not everybody, at least. I hope something has been helpful here. I don't think much was. One more thing I want to mention is this screen back here. It's not hooked up to anything. It's got a live, basically, cord right here. And I tested it out on the camera, and it allows me to monitor myself. So I didn't use it in this video, obviously, because I'm facing it, and I wanted to show you that. And this is the new desk, and I'm happy to have it in here. It's so much bigger than the other desk. It's insane. I thought my desk was ginormous. This one is, I don't know, 20% bigger. Doesn't sound as impressive that way, does it? Oh, Jesus. Alright, if you guys are loving watching these as much as I'm loving making them, then please consider subscribing. Also, if you do subscribe, hit the little bell down there and it'll alert you every time I put up a new video. Smash the like button if you love this video. If you didn't, do what you gotta do. But I love you nonetheless. Thanks for stopping by. You guys take care of each other, take care of the world around you, and appreciate the time you have here, because it's not going to be long enough. Now let's end that on a nice depressing note. You guys have a great day. I'll see you a little bit further on down the road. And peace, my brothers and sisters. Take care. Stupid cat!